Hi, this is JJ Chandler, and this is the video overview of my research prospectus on integrating mobile devices into online courses. As a quick overview, my research study is based on my experiences with Quality Matters, which is an organization that resulted from a grant in 2003-2006 from the Department of Education Fund for Improving Post-Secondary Education. And basically, they were charged with creating a set of standards as a form of quality assurance for the design of online courses. As a result of those standards, which have been out for over a decade now, a lot of independent research has been done on the effectiveness of those standards, and they found that there's a positive impact on learners who go through courses that have been peer-reviewed using these standards. Now, part of developing these standards was an exhaustive review of the available literature on online learning, and they do a new review every 2 to 3 years, the last one being in 2013. After the reviews, they reflect on themes they've noticed in the literature, and one of the themes they noticed in 2013 was a lack of research guiding the use of mobile devices or the integration of mobile devices into online courses. So that was the inspiration for my study. The problem statement is pretty straightforward. It's the technical challenges of working with mobile devices and how do you integrate them into an online course setting. Some of the challenges they've identified are the variability of devices. If you're just looking at mobile phones, you have three different kinds. You have feature phones, which have very small text-based screens in your traditional 0 through 9 telephone touchpad input. You have smartphones with slightly larger screens and a separate either A through Z or QWERTY keyboard attached to the phone. And then you have the modern day touch phones, which have screens that are as large as the device itself, and you interact with it by just touching the screen. So your iPhone, your Samsung Galaxy would fall into that category. There's several other technical limitations, download speed and internet access. Even in America and Europe, there's pretty good internet access, but it's not always high quality, fast Wi-Fi. We've all experienced this. Display variability, if you look at the three phone types, some can display web pages, some can barely display little more than text messages. Text input becomes a problem. You think of the old phones with just a traditional handset 0 through 9 keys. It's hard to text that way. It's hard to write research papers or post to discussion boards. And all of these devices have limited memory. So all these are basic technical problems just with mobile learning. In the literature review, I found a couple of basic themes when it came to mobile learning. The first was a debate over what is mobile learning. There's a couple different definitions. Traxler focused on a technology as the definition. So the type of technology, he listed tablets and mobile phones and things like that. But that was back in 2005. He didn't have things like the iPad or Google Glass. And so those definitions quickly fell out of date as new devices were released. Quinn focused on mobility. The mobility of the device itself is what defined it as mobile learning. And finally, Keegan actually focused on the user and how they interacted with the device. And he basically focused not on devices exclusively designed for education, but personal devices that we use for our everyday use and then subsequently would then be used for educational uses. The other type of mobile learning that was in the literature was a lot of mobile device use for extending education to geographically remote areas. So there's several examples there in Australia, Egypt, the UK, India, where it's not really a focus on integrating mobile devices into the course content. It's distributing course content through the use of mobile devices, which is a different approach to what I'm interested in. So as a result of this, I found a single missing theme, but from a couple different researchers. So there was a review of the mobile learning literature in 2010 by Tiffany, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name, but they found a disconnect between conceptual frameworks of well-designed technology, integrated instruction, and the actual fieldwork examples. So the fieldwork examples are the one at the bottom of this slide. It's basically using mobile devices to extend access to education as opposed to well-designed technology integrated instruction. The other was the quality matters finding on mobile devices. So Shattuck, who did the review of the 2013 literature review, found studies referring to mobile learning are found in the research, but these studies are often descriptive without providing any specific design strategies for your course content. So this all plays nicely into my research questions. I took a grounded theory approach to this because when you don't have a theory, when there's a gap in the research and you're not sure what the theory should be, the grounded theory approach was nice because it allows a theory to evolve from data that's gathered. So the questions I'm asking are things like, how are mobile devices unique in engaging an online course? How does the design of an online course best utilize a mobile device? And what best practices can we come up with as a result of integrating mobile devices into online courses? So my theoretical assumptions, as I said, I'm going to use a grounded theory model. So you really want to limit any assumptions you have. You want to allow the data to define what the theory is. It doesn't really come from the researcher's perspective. So let the theory emerge from the data. I chose to take a structured approach as defined by Corvin and Strauss in our readings. We had a whole discussion that week on grounded theory where we talked about the difference between Corvin and Strauss and the constructivist interpretive approach of Sharma's. I like the idea of Sharma's approach where you construct meaning and you interpret the data, but being new to this type of research, I lent with the Corvin and Strauss method because it gave me a very clear, structured approach where I'm not dependent on myself and my own personal interpretation and bias interfering with what the findings might be. For the project, I went with an ontological perspective. As Creswell defined it, multiple realities exist that can be viewed through the different perspectives of our research participants. So as I see how students engage mobile device use in courses and their perspectives on what's effective and what's not, hopefully a theory will emerge from that. The role of myself as the researcher, non-participant observer, basically I'll be conducting a series of interviews of students who have taken an online course at CCBC that utilizes mobile devices. The study itself is only going to run during a single semester, and my approximate sample size would be about 20 students. That's a typical class size for a CCBC course. The significance of this study, as I pointed out, the gaps in the literature, how do we integrate mobile devices into online courses? How do we redesign course content to better utilize mobile devices that are available? So what I'm hoping is to basically lay a foundation and come up with a theory that can start developing some standards that could eventually be integrated into the Quality Matters rubric and course evaluation standards in the future. As far as my references that I used in this PowerPoint, I didn't put them in the slides here. You'll have to look them up in my research prospectus, which was attached to the link to this video. Thank you for watching.